LC, I should have Steve on the line. All right.
All right, LC, thank you for the time today. How's your training camp going so far?
Training's going great, man. Just down to my last hard week of training and ready to do my thing next Friday.
Coming up to Thackerville, Oklahoma, and you got a big fight with a guy who's been around for a long time but hasn't fought a lot in the United States. So what do you do when you prepare for a fight like that with a guy that's maybe better known in Japan, like Hideo Tokoro?
I mean, I don't really do anything differently, you know. I train the same way for everyone. You know, I like the fact that he's well known in Japan and, you know, that he's a veteran in the sport. And, you know, I look to welcome him to America with a good old-fashioned ass-kicking.
All right, well, that's the obvious answer, of course. But that's all you've been doing so far at Bellator. You're 2-0 in 2 fights, so it seems like ass-kicking is the thing right now.
That's definitely the thing, and I'm looking to continue that.
Do you feel like maybe a title shot is just around the way if you keep stringing together win after win after win?
Absolutely, man. That's the goal. My goal for this year is to get that belt. So I'm looking to make a statement on March 27th, and hopefully that'll give me one step closer to that.
Now, when you look back, you've had a lot of statement fights in your career. You look at fights like Javi Vasquez, Diego Nunez, Rafael Diaz, Connor Hewen. When you look back, what do you think is like the biggest statement that you made thus far before Bellator?
You know, my Rafael Diaz fight, I ended that with a, you know, dramatic head kick, with like 3 seconds left in the fight. That was definitely, you know, one of my biggest wins of my career. But, like all those guys you mentioned, Javier Vasquez is a super tough opponent, Connor Hewen in the IFL, you know, the list goes on and on. But, yeah, man, every fight I'm looking to, make a statement and showcase my talent.
Now, you were there right at the end as the WEC roster merged with the UFC roster. Were you a little disappointed that you didn't make that transition over to being called a UFC fighter? You were right there. They were owned by Zuffa, but you didn't end up on the UFC roster.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely disappointing, man. You know, but everything happens for a reason. I guess, you know, it just wasn't in my deck of cards. So, you know, I just got to take it as it comes and keep moving forward.
Yeah, well, it has worked out pretty well. So 6 out of the last 7 have all gone on the win column for you. So it's their loss, actually, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm one of the best 35-pounders in the world. So, you know, them not having me on the roster is definitely their loss and Bellator's game.
Absolutely. So when you look at Hideo Tokoro and the variety of ways that he wins, I know you say you prepare the same for every fight, but at the same time, do you key on any one thing that you think, this is what I got to watch out for with Tokoro?
Absolutely. You know, I said I prepare the same way for everyone, but there's little things that you got to do differently for everyone, too. For this guy, he's super well-rounded, in my opinion, but I think his strength is on the ground. He's a submission guy. Most of his wins are by submission. So that's what I got to look out for. You know, I've been working on my submission defense and just working on my overall ground game. So I think that's probably his best chance to win. So that's definitely what I'll be looking out for.
That's true. His biggest win in the United States, that one other fight he's had in the States so far, was that armbar of Brad Pickett. And we know what Pickett went on to do since then. So obviously that's a huge feather in his cap. And you don't want to be the next guy he takes down in armbars in the U.S.
Oh, no, absolutely. You know, Brad Pickett's definitely a good win. You know, he has a lot of good wins. And, you know, he's a dangerous fighter in that aspect on the ground and, you know, everywhere, really. You know, a guy that has 60 fights is not going to be an easy fight, you know. So I know I got to come in there prepared to go the distance, but I'm looking to take him out as fast as possible.
Yeah, well, you've got no shortage of fights, too. You've got almost 30 fights total. So do you feel like you do give an experience edge to Tokoro, or do you feel like between, you know, your background before fighting and your background in fighting that you've got more than enough?
I mean, he has more fights than me, but I feel like I match up with anybody on experience. You know, this is probably the first guy I've fought in a long time that has more fights than me. So I'm excited at that, you know, from that sense of it. But, you know, he doesn't have advantage on me on any aspect, in my opinion.
Now, something that I actually saw back in the day on Access TV, or back then it wasn't even called Access, but I remember watching this fight and thinking that it was going to go your way, and Mishihiro Omagawa, it didn't work out, but it's kind of interesting that you've had one fight in Japan and he's had one fight in the U.S.
Yeah, I know, man. That is kind of interesting. Yeah, I had one fight in Japan, and it was a huge learning experience for me. The travel was rough. Just adjusting to the time zone and travel and everything. It was hard on my body. My weight cut didn't go so good, so there's a lot of elements that went into that loss. And now I have that advantage of being home here in the Midwest. I'm a local Midwest guy. I don't have to travel too far for this fight, and he does. So that's definitely a feather under my cap, in my opinion.
It's a little more travel depending on where in the Midwest you are, because I looked up Thackerville to Omaha, which is where I'm based. I guess Kansas City must be a little bit closer.
Yeah, I think it's about 6 hours, 6.5 hour drive. But yeah, it's still a haul. It's a little bit of travel, but I don't have to travel near as far as him. So
That's definitely true. And since you mentioned the cutting and how that didn't go well for you in Japan, I assume that these days you've got the cuts completely mastered. And what do you walk around for a bantamweight fight these days?
I walk around when I'm in shape in camp. I walk around about 150. When I'm out of shape and not training hard, I'm about 55 to 60. So I never get over 160. So
yeah, so you're not punishing yourself with the cut. Then it's not like, oh my God, I'm dying on the day of the fight.
No. I actually should have been bantamweight my whole career. Like I said, I've never weighed more than 160 pounds my whole fighting career. So I wrestled 133 pounds all through college. And when I first started fighting, there just wasn't a lot of opportunities for bantamweights. There really wasn't a lot of opportunities for featherweight. So, I fought Connor Hoon and a lot of guys at 155, and I weighed 155. So I fight my natural weight, and now I feel like I'm fighting at the most competitive weight class I could be at, and I'm looking to show that I'm one of the best bantamweights in the world.
Well, I think that's one thing that WEC did that maybe they don't get the credit for, and history will help resolve that years from now, that they really brought the lighter weight classes into the primetime mainstream exposure, that people realized how dynamic and exciting, lightweights, featherweights, bantamweights could be, and UFC had to stand up and take notice, and everybody else took notice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would pretty much give all the credit to WC and guys like Uriah Faber for paving the way for, bantamweights and the featherweights and now even flyweights. So, I definitely think they paved the way, and I was glad I was able to be a part of the WC.
Hideo Tokoro is somebody you tweak a little bit for, but obviously you don't have to change too much. You just have to worry about submission defense. Do you feel like your submission offense has gotten stronger? Do you feel like maybe there's a point where you can go for the armbar or maybe try to get him in a rear naked choke?
Yeah, absolutely. I think since I've been training with Travis Conley, he's my head jiu-jitsu coach, head MMA coach, really. How you learn submission defense is learning submission. So, as I've got better on my defense, I've got better on my offense too. So, if I see an opening, I'm definitely going to take it. Like I said, my last two wins, I've won 2 in Bellator, but I really wasn't completely happy with my performances. So, I'm looking to definitely attack in this fight and go for the kill.
Okay, now I have to backtrack a little because you say you weren't too happy with your first 2 Bellator fights, but you won the first one with a guillotine choke in the first round. So, how could you have been happier with that performance?
I just felt a little flat in the fight. I ended up being like a swing bout. I was like the blackout fight I fought after the main event, and I had to warm up like 3 or 4 times for that fight. I warmed up, cooled down, warmed up, cooled down. And it was just like, it really just kind of zapped my energy. So I felt a little flat in that fight, and I was happy to get the finish, but I just want to go out there and showcase my talent. I feel like I got a lot more to offer, and I haven't really showed Bellator, the complete package. So I'm hoping I can do that this next fight.
Well, speaking of that, since it's not a swing bout this time and it's not even a prelim bout, you moved up to the main card thanks to an injury. So that's actually got to be the ideal then, is you're going to have just the amount of time you need to warm up and be ready and not come out flat. Yeah,
man, it's awesome. I couldn't, planned it perfectly. I mean, everything happens for a reason, like I said. So, my time is now, man. I got really lucky. One man's misfortune, the injury to Richmond, ended up being a blessing for me. So I'm going to look to take advantage of it.
All right. Well, what's a day like off for LC Davis when you're not training hard for a fight in Bellator? What do you do to relax and unwind?
Just hang out with the family, man. I'm a family guy, man. So like the days off, when it's nice outside, we like to barbecue and get the family together, and just hang out, laugh, and have good times with the family.
Well, there's no shortage of good barbecue in Kansas City. When you're not doing your own barbecue, where do you like to get barbecue?
Oh man, for sure, Kansas City is known for the barbecue. My favorite spot is probably Jack Stack. I love Gates Sauce. Oklahoma Joe's is another one. Well, I guess it's called Kansas City Joe's now. But yeah, anywhere really, man. I'm a barbecue fanatic, so I'll take it all.
I got to say, every time I'm there for fights, whether it's Titan or Victor or whatever, I always go to Arthur Bryant's.
Yeah, I like Arthur Bryant's too, man. That's another one.
Yeah.
But I got to say my favorite is Jack Stack. It's a little more fancier barbecue, but hands down, I think it's the best in Kansas City.
Well, I'm going to check it out next time I'm there. I'm considering that your personal recommendation.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, since they got a plug, anything else you want to plug? Any sponsors, any teammates, anything you want to mention?
Yeah. I'd like to thank all my training partners and coaches here in Kansas City, American Top Team HD, Travis Conley, my strength conditioning coach, Tom Teeter, my boxing coach, Melvin Wesley. I went out to the American Top Team headquarters. Everyone was awesome out there, so I'd like to thank Coach Laborio and Conan Severio and Kami and everybody for helping me out there at American Top Team. And just thank to all my sponsors, and look out for me March 27th. I'm looking to make some noise.
All right, March 27th at the WinStar World Casino in Thackerville, Oklahoma, live on Spike TV, Bellator MMA. You'll be taking on the toughest nails, Hideo Tokoro, and hoping to get that big win. So we're looking forward to the fight.
All right, man. I appreciate it.